Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're gonna be honest here, I never heard of any, or the third brother
Well,
that
the
remains
third brother,
nameless.
I don't think he even plays drums, but the other,
Oh,
Vinny.
but he's got an opinion on how to
Yeah.
pronounce his last name anyway.
Well, if you know metal, Vinny played with Ronnie James Dio on the Holy Diver
Okay,
album, right? So
there you
that's
go.
his claim to fame. Anyway,
He's legit.
from the muddy shores of the North Saskatchewan River, right here in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, this is Do You Know Jack with Steve Brockley on the line, just mid conversation, randomly talking about past Black Sabbath drummers.
Well, we might have missed the best part of the whole conversation already if we're only starting recording now.
I should just get in the habit of hitting it right away, shouldn't I? Well, we were talking
Yeah,
about the brothers Appice, Appice, the two of which are drummers, Carmine and Vinny. Yeah, all with different last names. I forget how we rabbit trailed into that, Steve. I can't even
well,
remember. I
you were
think.
you were trying to get the pronunciation of my name
Ah, yes,
correctly, and then
yes.
that led us down a pronunciation rabbit hole.
What now? You said broccoli, which is fine, and then
Yeah.
you said if it was the vegetable, it would be broccoli. But I don't know anybody that actually says broccoli. It may be
Well, they
like
say they say broccoli.
broccoli. Uh,
Broccoli.
aha, is that like the is that the BC way of saying it now?
Well, I mean that's just the phonetically correct way of saying broccoli. I mean, I don't know.
It's the most random
But
conversation.
yeah, it's basically the same like I was saying broccoli. So that's my name, broccoli.
Yeah.
If you're if you want to really get specific, then there's your difference, 3 syllables versus two. But I'm not going to get worried about any of that. I think I used to worry about, well, I definitely used to worry about my name when I was a kid,
Yeah. Oh
because when you're
my.
a kid, you want to be there's like a thing where you kind of want to be the same as everyone.
Yeah.
And, and it's not until later in life that it's kind of, I don't know, I kind of feel like the opposite. You just really don't want to be the same as everyone. So
True.
it's nice to just, so in that regard, I guess it was maybe harder for me then, but now I embrace that I have a kind of a unique last name. Although I think if I lived in the UK, it's actually not that unique.
Oh, is that where the name originates from? Out
Yeah,
across the
that's where
pond.
they're all at. All the Brockleys are over there.
I suppose when you're a kid, you probably faced a lot of adversity, eh? Because I mean, kids can be really creative and sometimes just annoyingly uncreative with put downs, and I don't think there's really any way you can get around a put down no matter what name you have. But I would imagine having a name that kind of sounds like a vegetable probably wouldn't help.
I don't think it was really too bad on account of other kids. I think it was mostly that I was like self-conscious about it.
Yeah,
And but other than that, I mean, what are you gonna say? Your name sounds like broccoli. I don't know.
true,
Like you
true.
said, I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. But I think I was not happy about it. But it took me a while. But it's all good now.
Did you ever think about having your name legally changed or like adopting a stage name early in your career? Like I think you've been going since maybe about 2010 or 2011 ish. That's kind of when your first record dropped, if my information here is correct.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was around 2010, probably. Um, no, not really. I mean, I just I wasn't thinking that. I guess I didn't know that you could have a name that wasn't your name. Like, it didn't really seem like a option. But people do that. Like even a solo performer. Because when I got started, it was just me, just playing by myself,
Yeah, yeah.
playing guitar and singing my songs, and I didn't. I wasn't aware that you could like come up with some great name, like not even like a person's name. People, you know, like you got like Bahamas or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't even on my radar that that was like something that people did. So I was just me. And then once you get going, then you can't really change it now.
Yeah, well, because
Well,
if
you could.
you could, but then you'd be, you know, it would almost be like starting all over again, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's probably, you know, all the one sheets that have been made and all of the groundwork that you've laid in the, you know, in the public relations area, again, just getting your name out there. They'll be like, you know what, Steve Brockley changed his name to Steve what's his face? Well, that's weird, you know, and you'd have to answer all those questions then, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. And by that point, I wasn't worried about my name.
Yeah, no,
I think
that's
I asked, like, and then other people were like, "No, it's great. It's actually, you know, it's not just John Smith type name, and maybe if you had heard the music somewhere and you liked it, you might actually be able to remember my name because it's odd."
Yeah. Well, now let's talk about your musical career. This is the longest conversation I've ever had about somebody's name.
Imagine how long it would have had to been if I had changed it.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, now, like, what inspired you to just start doing what you're doing? Because I mean, you seem to wear your influences on your sleeve. I mean, I'm picking up on, you know, especially in the latest record, Is Not Was. I mean, I'm picking up on the Neil Young vibe, and of course, people have been saying, "Oh, he plays the drums and sings, so you know, Levon Helm, you know, the band, that's got to be a thing." There's kind of this sort of stripped down, simplified Stray Gators sort of vibe going on there, you know?
Yeah, well, thanks. I don't mind any of those comparisons, really. I mean, as far as kind of what got me going, when I started out, well, I guess the first thing I did, I moved from BC, I moved to Toronto, and I was just getting gigs just as a sideman. Just playing with other people around Toronto.
And now, is that on drums? Then, is drums your big thing?
It was guitar and drums.
I
play guitar, I play the drums. Those are the main two instruments I play, although I dabble on the bass on the record.
Yeah.
Make claims as any kind of bass player. But so I was just playing, I was gigging, I wasn't writing songs or anything like that. And then I just kind of I felt like I was putting all my energy into, you know, other people's musical projects, and it's fun and everything, but I felt like if I had a little bit of space and time, I felt like I had something in me to actually write about myself. And I kind of made the switch. I decided to move to Montreal. I had been through Montreal just gigging, and I had liked it, and I thought, I'm going to move to Montreal, and when I get there, I'm going to just be my own thing. I'm going to write songs. And it's funny because it's not like I only listen to, you know, country or kind of classics like Neil Young or the band, like you mentioned. I do love that stuff, but I've always listened to tons of different music my whole life. But as soon as I started writing songs, that's just the way they kind of came out.
Yeah.
They just came in more of the folk roots kind of genre. Not consciously, but because I love so much different stuff, but that's just the songs that I started writing, and for some reason that's kind of where I go as a songwriter, kind of rooted in that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I was thinking, like, you know, at least in the new record here, I mean, there's so much space, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like there's room for you to almost grasp a lot of the you know, message in the lyrics, and take in the vibe, you know? I mean, is that something that's kind of always been your deal, Steve?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you kind of noticed space. I love space. I think that um, a lot of times you go see a band or listen to a record and, you know, count it off, and everyone just kind of plays all at, everyone just is playing all at the same time as much as they can, and you think that because you're standing there with your instrument in your hand that you should be playing it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's not stupid to think that, but consider that maybe sometimes the most you can contribute is to actually just not do anything, and then do something. Just pick your moments. I'm a real less is more kind of person. I think it's effective.
Yeah.
I think there's a line, you know, you don't want to do nothing, but space is the spaces in between the notes are just as important as the notes. I think someone else has probably said that. I don't know who that is, but I don't
sounds
think
like
I
it's
came up with that.
sounds like it's a jazz musician thing. It's like I've heard that before too. Like it's maybe like something Miles Davis said, or you know, somebody like Mingus or something.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, let's say that's a Miles Davis or Mingus, maybe Monk. You know, who knows?
Well, there you go. You threw out Thelonious, so you must be a bit of a jazz aficionado.
I am. I'm a big jazz fan actually, and every Wednesday night I play in the big band.
Oh.
I play drums in like a 20-piece, you know, jazz band, and that's a blast. So I'm definitely in that world. Doesn't cross over so much like with what I write and do with my band, but I just love playing that stuff so much. So yeah,
well,
I'm in it.
If you're playing in a big band in Montreal, though, I mean, there must be some sort of trained shops that came around somewhere with your drumming.
Well, I wasn't playing in a big band in Montreal, so I'm out in BC now.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, even so, back. Like, Vancouver is still quite the jazz city from what I recall. I mean, I haven't lived there since the 90s, but...
Yeah. Well, no, I am. Like, I went to school for music, and, yeah, so I have that background.
Oh, where did you go?
Training. I went to Selkirk College in Nelson.
Oh, a lot of great musicians come out of there.
So, yeah, that was great. I spent a few years there, and I was just thinking, because I just got back into playing with the big band, and I was just like, man, I'm thankful, because I didn't really look, I hadn't read really any music or charts since I left school, but I got back involved in this, in the big band, and I was like, man, I feel really lucky. I can read this stuff, you know, I can participate because I have that training, and it's not something that you can just do if you haven't. So I just felt really lucky that that I'm able to participate in that, because, you know, you need to be able to read that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's great that there can be you know, jazz schools out there, like, you know, St. FX, Grant McEwen, Capilano University. Actually, Capilano University, I think, in North Van might have been one of the first pure jazz degree programs in Canada, if I recall. I don't know how much you know.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe not like out at McGill or something like that, or I don't know.
Apart from McGill, maybe, yeah. Is Not Was is the new record dropped January 25th. You worked with John Ram, who is the same producer as I have not heard, I must admit, of Be Good Tanias, but Frazee Ford is definitely a name that has come up a lot for me over the last few years. I remember maybe it was 2015 when she managed to land on the big stage of Edmonton Folk Fest, and she put on a fantastic show.
Yeah, it's actually because of her record. I guess that came out around then that I just heard the record. I knew Frazee a bit, and I had the record, and I was like, man, I just love the sound of this record. And I just flipped it over, looked at the back, read the credits, John Ram, and I was like, I like this sound. So I basically just cold called him and said, hey, John, my name's Steve, and I would like to make a record with you. And he said, send me some of your stuff. So I sent him what I had, and he said, come to Vancouver and let's make a record. So that's when I made my last record with him as well. So the last two I've made with John. And yeah, he's just great. I love working with him.
Yeah, actually, the Be Good Tanyas was the group that Frazee was in before she went solo. It looks like it's amazing what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's amazing what Google will do, and her record Indian Ocean, that was the 2014 record probably that you heard of John's, maybe. Hey, or was it the debut Obadiah? Maybe it was that one.
I think it was Obadiah that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I had when we made the record before this one.
Right.
So
yeah, she's got a very, very unique voice. I don't know if I've quite
crazy
heard anything
great.
like it. But I mean, it was obviously John's production that you were after. I mean, what was it about John's production specifically that drove you to basically probably cold calling him to see if he would do yours?
Yeah, well, it was just like, I don't know, you just hear stuff and you're like, well, this sounds like basically like a kindred spirit. Just in the approach, it's a minimalist kind of approach, but all the sounds are so rich and thick, and it just, it's not overproduced.
Yeah.
There's not too much going on. You're just, you've got drums, bass, guitar, some organ kind of thing. And it's just about nailing those sounds. Like, he just gets such nice sounds out of everything.
For sure.
And he's not super hands-on to work with. Like, he just does his thing really well, and then I do my thing. And then, but if there's ever a time where I feel getting a little bit in the weeds or something, he'll kind of know exactly what to say, just to kind of steer me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And basically it's just easy because we have the same kind of goals and the same vision of basically what records should sound like. So it's just an easy working relationship. We're not butting heads ever about, arguing how a song should go or what the guitar should sound like or something like that. I know the sound that he's going to pick for the snare drum is the same one that I want, so it just kind of streamlines everything.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking now, like, these arrangements, you played just about every instrument on it, but I mean, one thing that I've often heard about producers, though, is they have a way of basically trimming the fat off of songs and simplifying songs to a certain extent to almost serve the song. I mean, is that kind of what John does? Well, I'm not saying he doesn't do that, maybe working with other people, but I think in my case there's not really much fat. If anything, he would add a little bit, like he would hear, like it would be really nice to have an organ come in on this part. He'd bring that in. But no, we never cut nothing needed to get cut out. I think my writing is pretty fat-free. That's true.
Just like I don't know, I don't have extra anything. It's pretty minimal, so there's not really much to cut out there unless you're just going to cut out I think we just we might cut out a whole song if we just don't like it. That's about it.
Yeah, it's too skinny.
Yeah, you got nothing to cut out there.
It's just
I just came in. I'm like, here's 9, 10 songs, and we recorded them.
Yeah,
and that's about it.
Here's 5 minutes of silence, John. What do you think of that?
Yeah, he'd probably say, yeah, it's pretty good.
Put it on there.
I like it. I like it.
Maybe add a little organ to that silence. See if we got anything.
Yeah, that's kind of his move. Is be like, yeah, I'm hearing a little bit of organ on that. So
that's his signature producer move.
He hears a lot of organ in his mind.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, and of course, you were in Vancouver's Afterlife Studios. I mean, there's so many great recording studios in Vancouver. I mean, is this one such studio maybe? Like,
yeah, well, he actually has taken over. It used to be called Mushroom Studios, which had a bit of a name as being like a really good room, just a great sounding room. And he kind of, they had, I guess, folded at some point, and he just moved in and kind of rescued the space and renovated it, and it's just amazing in there.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing this very, very large room with some carpets and this giant staircase leading down. Is that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Big stack of guitars on the wall here, and a bunch of chords very neatly coiled.
Yeah, well, yeah, that sounds like a lot of studios, if we're being honest.
The staircase, though, maybe like it looks like a bit of a basement almost. Yeah,
well, no, it's the staircase. That's real, because the staircase goes up to the booth, where his mixing board is and everything. So he's up there with his window, looking down on his subjects.
I can see that I just Googled it really quickly, and now I'm looking at the photo. You see.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful space, and he's a beautiful guy, so it's easy to work with.
Well, I'm looking at just the big, large, open room, very high ceiling. I mean, there must be a lot of resonance in there that you can play with, especially when you've got a lot of space to work with in your own arrangements.
Yeah, it gives you options for sure. Yeah, I think you could pretty much get any sound you want in there. He's got a giant old plate reverb that he salvaged from some other old studio, and just the room itself, there's really not a whole lot he has to do in post. It's in his mixing, just because he just records really good sounds. And so just exactly what he's got coming in sounds amazing. So there's really not much to polish at the end, really. He just kind of captures it.
It looks like there's a really large boom mic here over the drums. I mean, I would imagine then again with the size of the room that probably captures a different maybe aspect of the drum sounds that a smaller room might not necessarily be able to grab.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. He's definitely figured out the right spot in the room to put the drums. So I think pretty much anyone who goes in there, he knows where he wants to put the drums. And then yeah, he's just got different options. I mean, you can put mics in so many variety of places, and different mics with different patterns and everything. That he's a wizard. He's got it figured out. I won't pretend to know what the formula is.
But I mean, it is your second record with him, so I mean, obviously there's a relationship there, and I've talked to a lot of bands that often go with the same producer more than once. So I mean, obviously the comfort level was there with John, that you could sit back and maybe even this time around be a little bit more vulnerable, eh?
Yeah, it was just easy. Like, you didn't have to go through any kind of like meeting process where you're figuring out your, personalities and dynamics. You just are kind of like, hey, John, great to see you. and let's start making a record. We did it really fast, so there you go.
And you, I think I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but you played on almost everything on the record, if I'm correct here, right?
Yeah, I didn't play everything, but I played a lot of.
Maybe
I
the
played
foundation.
most of it. Yeah, and I didn't. The only thing I mean, I didn't play organ. A great guy, Tyson Naylor, came in and played organ. Vancouver guy. I didn't play the pedal steel. Scott Smith played that.
Yeah.
And I didn't play everything on every song, but I did play most of the instruments at some point.
Yeah. Now, what was the strategy there? I mean, was it just easiest for you to cut most of the instruments yourself?
Yeah, well, I just spent so much time by myself writing it and creating the sounds that when it was time to record it, I pretty much knew what I wanted to hear. So instead of trying to explain, to someone, hey, I want you to play, the bass this way, I would just play it that way.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of the most natural way to get a lot of it done.
For sure. Well, the record Is Not Was came out January 25th, so I guess the operative question now that we're into early February is, what's next on the docket for you there, Steve? I mean, are you getting out and on the road a little bit with this thing?
Yeah, we're not doing tons right now. Like, we're just playing a little bit close to home, but the summer's filling out a bit.
Yeah.
Looks like some festivals are coming through, so that's nice. And so we'll be getting out and about as the weather gets a little bit warmer. I'm kind of done touring too much in the winter. I've driven across Canada too many times in the winter and lucky to be alive, so I don't want to be rolling through your part this time of the year anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even funny. I mean, so much stuff has happened to musicians on the Trans-Canada, and that's not even...
It's real. Yeah, like the more you drive it, like, drive across Canada in the winter, try doing that a couple times a winter and see how many close calls you have, and then it's just a matter of time before it's not good.
Well, we'd love to see you come up and do something in Prince Albert. I mean, what happens a lot of the times up here is if a band is playing Saskatoon either the day before or the day after, they usually try and fit a little, small venue PA gig in. There's a few venues here and there probably that would love to see you, and there's a great little it's almost like a little music school called Jam Street, and I noticed Belle Plaine was just playing there in front of just some people just at that space. So I would imagine you with your musical training, it would be pretty cool for the kids and an all ages audience to check out what you do here in PA.
Awesome, thanks. Well, I'll get in touch about that. I'll give you a shout, and you can tell me again about how I might be able to line that up. So thank you.
Yeah, and of course we've got a soft seater, and there's a few lounges and bars that might be able to support something you do. Like I said, especially if you're rolling through Saskatoon, to just make a quick little pit stop over in PA and play a quick little one-off.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I hope to get out there. It's been too long since I've been east of Alberta, really. So I'd like to get back out there not too long.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, it's been great just chatting with you about your record and about your music and all things in between, I suppose.
Yeah.
Where can we pick up? Where's the best place to pick up Is Not Was? Where you're gonna make the most amount of coin off of a purchase?
Oh, that's a good question. yeah, if people actually want to purchase it instead of stream it, I guess buying it probably off of iTunes, if people even do that anymore, would be great. Because, yeah, it's definitely kind of got pushed onto the streaming platforms like
Yeah.
Apple Music, Spotify for sure. But yeah, if you want money to come my way, I won't be mad.
Are you gonna lay out some coin and get this pressed on vinyl too?
Yeah, that's the plan. You bet.
Yeah, I mean vinyl's it's kind of becoming a thing to the point that there's probably a 6 or 7 month wait list before you can even get that pressed, eh?
Yeah, it can take a bit of time, but there is a few more places popping up that are doing it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it doesn't take too long.
Well, right on,
Yeah.
Steve Brockley, right here on Do You Know Jack? Just chatting. Well, it was nice. It was nice talking to you, man. Like I said, I really appreciate your time, and we'll try and get this out as soon as we can.
Thanks so much. That was fun.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good night.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Bye bye.